if you're watching this, the invitation is to drop into a fascinating conversation with one of the most impactful healers, guides, wisdom keepers that I've ever known, and certainly in my recent life, the amazing Marla Lindner, the founder and chief priestess, high priestess. I don't know what title that you like most for the Bufo Healing Sanctuary. And we're going to go deep into some profound spiritual healing, biological healing, mental healing modalities that I've personally experienced in my reality that have been incredibly impactful, most specifically Bufo and the Keylontic Sciences, both of which this woman, it's an absolute powerhouse of wisdom and healing in. So very grateful to be here and excited to share some really epic wisdom with some amazing people out there.
Thank you, Jackson. It's a complete honor to have such a real talk and profound healing, that I've been blessed with you on this path, guiding one another with wisdom, love, DNA activation, restoring distortions in our energetic body. Thank you for allowing me to be here at this moment of time in our life.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to go deep. It's going to be a mixture of like very challenging things, which the healing path certainly does. And if you are interested in psychedelics, if you're on your spiritual path, if you are already deeply involved in that healing journey, you know that it is an experience of some of the most beautiful states of consciousness that you could ever imagine and more, and also some of the most traumatic and challenging. And as the wisdom keepers say, you got to feel it to heal it, and sometimes you've got to see it to release it. And we'd love to dive in with you, and starting in the place of what you've personally experienced as the most profound inner transformations in your journey of amplifying love, amplifying connection, and also working through emotional dis-ease and discord. So would you just sort of start with your personal experience with Bufo and the Keylontic Sciences specifically?
Well, of course, there's a wellness journey that comes with that whole explosion of sacred medicine and Keylontic Science. After that wellness journey and learning about energy and self-healing myself and not relying on outside sources unless it was through friends and information that resonated within myself. I went from Keylontic Science for about almost 4 years of studying Keylontic and then going into psychedelic medicine. And it was because I wanted to see what it felt like going interdimensional travel within the container of psychedelic sacred medicine.
So that's a big statement, and I love it. And no matter what belief system you come from, be it mainstream Christianity or the New Age, a big part of my mission is to help people that are looking to leave some of the dogmatic aspects of Christianity and leave some of the dogmatic or misinformed aspects of like New Age thought, and how we think about the universe and the dimensions and how we can make sense of this like wild, freaky universe that we're in. So I don't mean to interrupt you there, but if you would speak to your understanding and the dimensional like viewpoint from a Keylontic perspective, how as like succinctly as you can. I know it's an enormous conversation of many years to explain, but in your most profound words, how do you describe the multidimensional nature of reality from your perspective, from a Keylontic perspective, if you can?
Jackson, that's so big.
I know.
And how
We're gonna
to
start big
keep it
here.
real small and simple so people can comprehend it, because it's really big. We are connected in our energetic body in a container that's connected through an energy field called scalar waves. And that frequency connects our entire existence within this field of a container. Some people...
What are scalar waves? I'll make sure we define our terms as we go here.
Scalar waves is a type of energy form. We are made of scalar waves. In Keylontic Science, it's called a morphogenetic field. It's the container that holds everything. Creation, manifestation, our DNA templates, our energy, it's all connected. So everything is in that container of one.
So that's like the resonance, that's the frequency, that's the sound before creation. Like the morphogenetic field creates the creation.
Well,
How would you describe that?
now we're getting into something called Parasites, and that is Mala's electrotonal unit of consciousness is called Parasites, and there's phases with it. And so as these phases happen, this field, this energy field of frequency after something called morphogenetic phasing create this container around us. And then within that container, this is how individuation starts stepping down from consciousness. Because at one point in these studies, we were one. Law of one, oneness, unity consciousness. I love you, you love me, all in this field of how we care for one another with kindness, love, and compassion, and we're mirroring each other. So in this container, it holds scalar waves, standing scalar waves that connect us in this field of energy called a morphogenetic field, and that is where consciousness is. That's where our DNA crystalline body is. Everything is in this field that connects all of it, everything.
Okay. Love. And so, as we've kind of talked about, I got touched into Ashiana Dean, who's the main prophetess of this school of thought, 10 years ago or so. And it totally bounced. I really couldn't absorb it. It was way too complicated for me. So see the description below, and we'll describe some of the terms and explain some of this, because it is the most complicated view of spiritual science I've ever seen. And when we can have the patience to really look at it, when I can have the patience to really look at it, I have found incredible benefits in my resonance, my emotional quality, my just how good I feel. And the Maharic Shield process, I did that again this morning. And if you're lucky enough to come here to the Bufo Healing Sanctuary, you'll do some of that. Also on your awesome pulse electromagnetic frequency bed over there, combined, beautiful. And so when you look at the multidimensional nature of our energy bodies and the 12-dimensional nature of reality, so they believe in 12 or 15 dimensions. I get a little confused there. It's like 12 transit DNA, but there's 15 dimensions. And can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So in this time matrix, and remember, things are constantly growing and expanding, but in these teachings, to get the foundation, we live in a 15-dimensional time matrix. It does expand beyond that. It's constantly growing. We have a lot of different universes that are all connected to this field of stream of consciousness, but we are in a 15-dimensional time matrix. In the studies, there are 5 harmonic universes, also called densities, and within each density, there are 3 dimensions.
So how do you envision that? Can you describe what that looks like from your perspective, or from the Keylontic perspective?
Absolutely. I see them as realms.
Mm-hmm.
We're here on Earth.
So I want to help people visualize it. I'm going to cut you off there, but how can people see that in their mind's eye?
I see it like a sphere, around, and frequency bands, which 3 frequency bands, which are dimensions in each realm.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I visualize it, is the actual container is the realm.
Mm-hmm.
And in each, so we're on Earth, those dimensions are this harmonic universe 1, or density 1, have 3 dimensions, 1D, 2D, 3D for 3D. Many people say we're going to 5D, the 5th dimension, and that would be the realm above Earth, which is called Tara or Terra. And that holds a container of 3 dimensions, which is 4D, 5D, and 6D. Then that is another realm, which is called Gaia or Jaya, and that holds the dimensions of the 7, and 8. And then the next realm, I'm sorry, that is 7, 8, and 9 for Gaia. The next one is one of my favorites where I feel the most connection to. It's called AUREA. And that holds the dimensions of 10, 11, and 12. Above that would be the primal light fields. And that would be the 5th harmonic universe or density. And that holds the 13th, 14th, and 15th dimension. Now we're getting past that would be the primal sound field. Then past that, we're getting into the void of God, where the breath of God is in creation. The first individuation of breath, that is where Parasites starts in the breath of God.
Okay. So if that didn't totally blow your mind and you're still with us there, from my side of the table, I get fascinated again. And where's the biblical truth? Where's the spiritual truth? How do we weave these worlds together? And, some of the verses that come to mind is like, in my Father's house, there are many mansions, right? And so the biblical Christian is like, oh, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm going to get a big house. I think, no, I don't think that's what he's talking about. When Yahusha or Yeshua, Jesus, is speaking, he's speaking in encoded language about interdimensional quantum physics to goat herders, so like he's kind of dumbing it down a little bit. And so, how to understand all this stuff and how to like absorb it. I see overlap between these things, and being able to step into this, the benefit beyond just like mental fascination and entertainment is how do we like integrate this into our reality that actually benefits us. I see, and I'd love to know more about from your perspective when we get in contact with these higher frequencies. Is that how we activate our higher strands of DNA and our elevated consciousness? How does that work for you?
Absolutely, Jackson. You brought up the Maharic shielding. That comes from it's 12D Maharic shielding. That comes from the 12th dimensional frequency bands, which are very high levels of frequency. In this meditation, we're using light and code. Everything is about like symbols, lights, codes, frequency, crystalline structures. And so within that Maharic shielding, it connects to the 12th dimensional frequency band through a whole pillar that connects even beyond above your head, outer space, all the way into inner earth. This is where we are connected to everything, including inner earth. And that frequency is that 12D. The Maharic comes from the Anunnaki creation, the lion ray, which is connected to Giza, lion state portal we went through, and that is all connected through Stargate and portals. That's getting into a whole different topic there. But this meditation in 12D, it is a frequency from AUREA.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, what resides in AUREA is one of the heavenly. Because when you get to that high frequency, it protects your energy fields so much. And this is what the shielding does. Protects your energy field. So anything, distortions and negativity can't get past about 11.5 in a dimensional scalar wave frequency. It's so powerful. You can't have anything in a lower conscious egoic mind to get that high.
Okay. Do you feel complete there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool. So when we start talking about the 11th layer, what comes up is the whole Metatronic bugaboo. And so speaking of, the spiritual community and where I feel been off track in the past or not accessing full source code truth from the creator of the universe and the highest heavens, from the deepest wisdom. There are many layers of advanced beings that are, have more sophisticated minds than ours, that haven't gone through the death rebirth cycle and forgotten who they are so many times. And we're all here in this great remembering game. So may you remember who you really are, and may we serve in that remembrance. And one of them, as I've come to grow into understanding, thanks to you, thanks to Samuel Lee, Dr. Sam, love you, brother. And he's, become incredibly popular recently speaking on these sciences. So Definitely encourage you to check out Samuel B. Lee as well, Instagram and YouTube, and his heart protocols are incredible. So love you, Sam. And he and you have done a lot to reshape my mind and inform me as to the risks and the distortions that are being expressed through this Metatronic frequency, where we think we're hearing like a messenger of the creator, but really there is agenda and distortion and soul trapping happening. So this is going to get a little out there, I'm sure, but Marla, hit us with your big Metatron, Metatronic expressions, please.
Yes. So when I learned about Metatron and fallen angelic, it blew I had an emotional response.
Which is also highly biblical. So this is like another one of those big overlap moments of these interdimensional beings and what they've really been doing in our reality. So please continue.
And the reason why I had such an emotional response to is because part of Metatron is part of the Kabbalah, and I was raised Jewish. And so my whole world exploded, and it was a death, like, whoa. As a child, I was very, just wanted to be in nature and play with toads and then swim and arts and crafts. I was not into school. I was really pushed into religion. We got Hebrew school, religious school, bar mitzvah school. It's a lot of schooling, and I used to watch my dad. That's my dog, and so he wants to be part of this. Would you like to spin away that? Thank
if you do get to come here, you meet Enzo as perhaps your trip sitter.
He's a great trip sitter. He really, really is.
And he has kind of a wise toad-like energy about himself as well. So, and Mary's getting jealous. We got lots of doggies.
Yeah, about a house of God, right?
That's
weird. So, growing up that way, and my parents had no clue what they were doing. My dad would wear this black cube on his pineal gland.
The black cube of Saturn.
Yeah, that's connected Mecca, and I hate saying it in this way, but there's a lot of different forms of witchcraft, but the type of crafting.
Totally.
That, and my dad did have problems with opening his heart. And that is a program. It is a planned program of control system. And this is also with the responsibilities, the 12 responsibilities of mastery, which is self-actualization. The first one is self-actualization. I have this in my book. And this is how I started to feel embodiment, is that I started breaking the victim, victimizer, rescuer, martyr programming. These are programs that are connected to us.
Also, shout out to Quantum Regenesis. Marla's book is outstanding, combines deep mind, body, spirit medicine. In the description, make sure you check that out and grab a copy of that because it's outstanding and beautifully done. And yeah, please continue. But
thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. So when I started realizing there's programs that are keeping me in mind looping, not connecting my heart, my fourth heart chakra, and that I was born into something that I was never felt, heard, seen. I just wasn't different. I was a black sheep of the family. I was just different from everybody.
I prefer psychedelic goat.
It's
but I've also very much felt like the black sheep. So I feel you. And I'm sure many of you out there do, and inviting you to own the psychedelic goat rather than the black sheep.
Yeah. So the psychedelic. I was the psychedelic thing, goat or dote. Yeah.
Maybe psychedelic toad in the future.
I like the toad. I'm psychedelic toad.
Yeah, I love it.
And so, I didn't realize until in my 50s what was really going on, and when you hold really high, powerful streams of energy and light and obliviousness to a level, because you're oblivious to who you are, you can see things that people can't see. You can feel things that other people can't feel. I was psychic. I just knew how to knowing of things. I had this, I you're born activated, but through health, heavy metals, parasites, mind control, manipulation, distortions, projection from other people's pain and trauma, it creates these belief systems. So I was caught in a belief system, and I started deconstructing it through these 12 responsibilities of mastery. And the first one was releasing victim, victimizer, rescuer program. And we are in charge of our own energy and take responsibility for how we control ourselves.
Yeah. Definitely believe in the challenge of taking absolute responsibility for everything without getting into like an OCD-esque everything's my fault, but in a way like everything's our fault. and our opportunity to own it and live with integrity and live with vigilance for our shadow aspects, for my shadow aspects, which are many. And for me, just speaking briefly to that, is like how we learn to love all of ourselves and love the shadows. That's how we rise out of them, not through judgment or shame, which have also been monsters for me in the past. So when you look at how you got through those shadow aspects, how did Bufo and the Keylontic Science and also your parasite cleanse work, which is also a huge component of how to advance our consciousness and get out of these horrible manipulations that we face from the religious parasites, the governmental parasites, the actual demons that live inside of us. So yeah, would you speak to like how you found the pathways out of your dis-ease into the beautiful expression that you hold and shine with now?
It's so layered upon layered. It started with my wellness. I had a bowel obstruction, and I thought it was pretty serious. I had scar tissue build up, and it was right at COVID, and so there wasn't anybody to help me, and what a gift that was.
Yeah, cheers to the COVID awakening, which
exactly
challenged the world, and obviously was a tragedy and a complete fabrication on 99% of the level, but also a massive catalyst of awakening.
It sure was. It really was, and so I went into wellness, and I learned about a lot of different modalities. And it woke me up and how I really, it led me to a divorce. I needed to be alone. I needed to process things in my life that were not serving me any purpose anymore. I was learning what my soul mission was, and I became activated. So that means dormant DNA, junk DNA, they call it, was starting to activate and wake me up to learn my soul mission. And that's when I jumped in, when I started learning about psychedelic sacred medicine. It was Bufo. I was surfing the phone, and that was like, this is my medicine. Like there wasn't, I was completely pulled into Bufo. It was a pure calling. I couldn't stop. So I went into, after I had a couple ceremonies from a dear friend, mentor, and coach, John Stevens, shout out. He's a fantastic human being.
The Beyond Clinic.
He works at
Beyond. Shout out Beyond. Tom, how you doing down there, buddy?
And so John has been one of the biggest catalysts for me to get where I am. On a spiritual level, I would call him my guide. Absolutely. Hands down, he's one of my guides. And so...
And you said 5 tours and like 8 traumatic brain injuries and like massive healing journey.
Big.
Yeah. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out Carrie if you watch this. The psychedelic veterans who have gone through just the most unbelievable extreme trauma and have come through in their light and their power is so inspiring. None of us are too far gone. And whatever you're feeling, if you're feeling great and empowered and at peace, love it. And if you're in a state of darkness or despair or depression, there's hope. And this one right here has provided some incredible transformation for me personally and many, many others and lots of veterans. So I just had to say that. But please continue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, veterans, they hold a real special, all people hold a special place in my heart. But the veterans, and I'm going to speak in my own perspective and be real honest, because this is part of being really honest, is that these veterans are used.
Oh, yeah.
They're used and abused. And so their programming is off the charts with not having they deliberately don't want their heart open. You cannot fight with an open heart. That's a disaster. So closing that portal, the heart is a portal to me. And once, if you have divine pure love in the midst of fighting, you wouldn't be, and it's a disaster for the military.
Yeah. And then they spent, a couple hundred years getting men and women to want to kill each other. And I've seen wild studies from the past about how difficult it was to get them to want to kill other people. And like they've worked MK Ultra and all these crazy systems to get them to want to do that.
And these are programs.
Yeah.
How did they know about so many programs? Well, we live in a holographic template that are connected to programming. These programming systems are stored in our earth crystal. It's called the Nigerian dyadic crystal grid system.
All right, let's get weird. Hit me.
It's connected to Metatron. So it's hard to talk about Keylontic Science without connecting the dots with all of the components. And it's such a big container. We have they're called the cloistered Terra plate. There's 12 discs. They're holographic discs of an entire history of galactics, also teachings of healing.
And those exist here on Earth, or they were in the past? They were stolen?
One was stolen from what I had heard, and that was stolen from the Thoth, the Leviathan Levi tribe, and that is called the Emerald Tablet.
And so Thoth stole one of the plates, and that was now called one of the Emerald Tablets.
Correct.
So Thoth is not a pure benevolent entity.
Correct.
Yeah. And so this goes into a lot of the teachings that are out there right now, and a lot of very popular speakers who are, espousing Thoth's benevolence and wisdom. And now he's Hermes Trismegistus and Enoch, and there's all these like twisting different characters all kind of stitched together. And I've very much been in that, and I believed in that, and also I'm seeing more and more that it's not all light and love with these characters. They're a big mixed bag. So yeah, please take us deeper into like Metatron's agenda, Thoth's agenda from your perspective.
Okay, so I can't speak so much about Thoth. I just know that the information, like the Emerald Tablets, are not all consistent, just like by the Bible. They, leave some, take some. And that's exactly what they've done also with their genetic, called checkerboard DNA. Take some, leave some, so we're not fully activated. So with Metatron, it creates a lot of distortions. The history goes with how Metatron was created, which are fallen angelics. It's a high level of consciousness. Now, you can't see this because it's high levels of consciousness in the energetic field, the streams of consciousness. And that container is the lineage called the Giovannis. And like, they fell in consciousness because they went away from the law of one. The law of one is very, very important. It's unity consciousness. It's oneness. And when they did not, and we all have free will, they had free will too, this lineage of consciousness. And so they went away and their consciousness fell. Ego, this is how I see it, to describe it, as ego's heavy. And as the ego grew, it kept falling and falling, and angelics would, different angelic lineages would come out, and, they've been known to rape and ruin families and mate with, and human beings, or higher levels of angelics, and created giants.
The whole Nephilim situation. Yeah.
Exactly. And so they created this system to keep us in a container that's called a bi wave, a bitonal wave. And so this is a dark matter, self-finite of energy of two wave forms that does not have spirit. And the shape of this energy is a swirl pattern. You see it in the Fibonacci sequence. You see it in shells. You see it in flowers. That's bitonal waves, and that could collapse. It feeds off of our energy.
So is this whole
distortions?
Is this whole realm that we live in? I mean, because obviously that Fibonacci shit echoes throughout nature. Is this all one big like soul trap that we're like trying to escape from?
The fallen matrix. That's
Yeah.
what it is. And we're in an ascension cycle, which happens, the cycle, all of this is cycles. This is a 26,556 year cycle, and it happens, it's connected to our timeline, the Uago cycles. And so if we have this lineage called indigos. The indigos help restore DNA coding. They work with grid. They work with polarity. Our role is to help restore DNA. That's a whole nother thing with indigos, but it's to pull people out of bi and go into tri-tunnel wave, where there's the energy of the avatar of the Christ. And that is where the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and spirit, God, Christ, whatever is the unnameable one that you choose, to bring that tri-tunnel wave up to a higher frequency level to restore your DNA. And that is where, in Christ's teachings, it was to help teach people to go in and heal themselves. We're not supposed to enable people. We're supposed to guide them inside to heal, for self-healing.
Yeah. And what comes up in response there is how, and we hear about the Trinity in Catholicism and other aspects of Christianity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. And it's, if this perspective is accurate, which it just resonates so much, the more I mentally understand it, the more I can like justify my emotional response to it, because it feels so intuitively right. But that's how, religion, the dark side, corrupts and distorts like the truth. And there's a lot of great Christians out there who talk about how the enemy or Satan distorts God's plan, and those terms feel very like dogmatic and kind of reductionistic to me. But we talk about how just like the matrix, or how these Metatronic forces are taking the beauty and the power of the truth, and then they put it into a false box where if we we feel like we're getting enlightened, but we're really hitting the next wall of like the next glass ceiling in this like Truman Show snow globe like existence of this firmament that we're stuck underneath. And we think we're advanced, but we're really just stepping into another like false enlightenment. Yeah. So yeah, please continue on what else comes up for you around the whole Metatronic issue, because it's huge.
Jackson, you're spot on. It is false enlightenment. There is, with the New Age movement, that's using discernment.
Yeah.
New Age movement, where's their plan of healing? How do they help people heal? Love, light, it's spiritual. It's a lot of spiritual bypassing from my perspective and how I see how it.
Massively agreed.
You just sit there, you're going to ascend. No, it takes work to ascend.
Yeah.
You have stages to ascend. You can't start from A and then go right up to F. You have to go through each step.
Yeah. And deep alchemy, deep shadow work.
Oh yeah, it's painful, and you cannot, if you don't go in, and people call it dark night of the soul, you call it whatever you want. To go through that process, you have to be really, really real with yourself, and what is keeping you from holding this mask, this illusion of how you have to be so perfect. Because when you start to unravel and release and heal, these distortions you're like, literally, fuck is going on with me? Like, why have I held on to this for so long? Going into Bufo, you feel the heaviness, that all the crap you've been holding, you feel it really.
Yes, I do.
Why did I hold on to all this? It does not serve a purpose. That me, and I just got chills, and this is very, very painful word. You have to step into the ego, and the ego's extremely holds you back. It's full of resistance. It doesn't want you to go into vulnerability and release. And when you start releasing, and that's what the goal is to shed the pain, shed the skin. It's not serving a purpose. How does a person do that? That's where medicine comes in. That's where energy work comes in. That comes wellness. your whole entire container. Integration is number one. The most important thing is to have coaches that you trust and love to help you integrate as you walk down these healing journeys.
Yeah, because otherwise it can bounce right back into ego, and we get the instant shaman identities, and the messiah complexes and the rescuer complexes, and how that's a huge problem. And I've seen it in myself. Like, there's no doubt about it. I've seen how those programs have come up. And when you speak about the ego, there's this, to me, like, the ego is like the mind virus of the human experience, and we're in this battle. And it's also this divine orchestration, this school of opportunity, where Metatron and these other dark forces and Illuminati forces, like, they all serve the light ultimately. They're all here as our wise, patient teachers, I believe. No matter how wicked they can be, or the horrific things that they do, their reality is getting worse until we help to make it better. And it's activating the necessity of our heroism. And one of probably my favorite authors, Stephen Pressfield, who talks deeply about this, and how he used the word resistance, and how the ego is like this magnet that wants to keep us in the duality, to keep us in the singularity, or that's to keep us away from the singularity, and to hold us in this insecure arrogance, rather than in the bliss of the unity and the respect and appreciation we have for others when we're in that state. So, would you riff on, your experience of unity consciousness, what it feels like to be on the other side of going through these excruciating Bufo experiences? Like, what does it feel like when you're on the other side of these transformational moments?
Oh, wow. That's big, Jackson. You mentioned singularity, and it's really like this Metatron field of keeping us individual so we don't have unity, because when we are together, we build something extremely strong. And I feel it, I see it, I know it, especially when I'm working in medicine. I've done a lot of medicine, a lot of Bufo. And
52 days straight in your training?
yeah, so training was 2 weeks, and I hit, in this container, she said 52 days. I did 52 days straight of Bufo.
Savage. Anyone out there who's experienced the powers and pain of Bufo, that is some spiritual gangster shit right there. There's no other way to say it. It's part of the shit bomb, but that is savage, and I respect it tremendously, because, oh my God, please continue.
Yeah, it comes, some stuff, because it's hard. I have to balance being in the realm, being in here.
Yeah.
And so there's this, and I wanted to say nice, but it can be difficult in the lifestyle.
Sure. Totally. Which you do a lovely job of, and you've created a beautiful space here. So just reflecting, you're doing great without it. I feel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been an honor and I've learned so much through this process that we've worked together. And the unity part of when you go into medicine, a lot of times when you finally can let go, it's an out-of-body experience. So when you hit this point where you're like, I can't, and you finally just lean into that and let it go, then you can feel the beauty in the medicine of coming together. This is how I feel medicine makes me feel. Sometimes when I finally let go, I feel like we are all one. All the fractals of sand, all the fractals of water, all the fractals of every single thing on this entire existence is within us. I have felt a lot of like, I'm sorry I've hurt you, a lot of self-hurt through negative thought and projection onto others. And this is where I can go into a lot of deep forgiveness, or others that have hurt me and I have hurt them. One of the biggest things is self-forgiveness, and that is one of the hardest things to do, because you're held in a container of shame and pain and trauma, and that is part of going back into that coding of being. Remember, the byway pattern feeds off of an energy field also, and that would be negativity, pain, suffering, trauma. The more pain and suffering and trauma, the bigger that energy field becomes. When you start becoming enlightened in a tritonal way, you're coming through, you lift away from that programming. But We are born with energetic plug called Jehovah's seals, and then it's on our left side, which is the feminine side. And this goes up to, remember, I mentioned the family lineages of the Giovanni, Jehovah, Jehovian. It's all in relation to these seals. This is keep these people on this planet in a field where we're sucking their entire life force from them. And that is through pain, suffering, trauma, belief systems, keeping people away from love, one, and unity. Once we have unity, we're here for one another. We're here to guide through love. Yes, that means I'm going to mirror what you're doing, because if we're working together and it's not serving a purpose for growth, love, kindness, humanity, we're going to have to call you out on things, because it creates ego, and ego's too heavy to hold. We have to keep a very strong light field around us, and anything that doesn't serve a purpose has to go. And that means even out in this realm, it's very hard not to have ego. We have to live. This is a field of ego. But let's minimalize this in a way. Let's keep the ego as it expands. Let's bring it back down. It's kind of like a breath, and then you rise in ascension. Okay, the ego starts to go again, because as we keep ascending, we forget. Holding memory is part of the system of, like, they took away our memory, so we can't be strong. If we remembered how to be strong and how to hold a field all the time, think how it would just like we could fly, because we were created to manifest. We are created to create. But when you don't have that energy field to create, then that field of how Parasites spins, because that's the smallest unit of consciousness is Parasites, and it breaks down into subparticles. Those are your manifestation. Matter, antimatter, antimatter. That's where science and consciousness comes in. Keylontic Science is the study of consciousness and science, light, sound, codes, symbols, which all create frequency. Does this answer anything?
That's so good. No, it's so good, and I hope you're all tracking and really receiving that. And where I see this echoing, throughout the secret societies, which all run by symbolism, which all run by encoded information. And you look at the ancient churches and cathedrals, you can see the cymatics in the way the stone is architected. You can see the way that this information and other similar information has been encoded into the ancient stone structures of the past, which have survived the catastrophes and have been here as the reminders for humanity through these yuga cycles or yuaga cycles from the Keylontic perspective, and seeing how these extraordinary temple spaces have been part of what has amplified our consciousness to be here. And I know this goes back into the Mahabharata and into some of the ancient Vedic wisdom and Indian wisdom. Can you speak to some of the lineage for the Keylontic sciences and where this wild explosion of wisdom came from?
Sure. So this brings it back to the first teachings with Anshana Dean. Her first teachings is the MCEO Freedom Teachings, and this goes into the Mahabharata ancient texts. And there's these ancient texts that this is where Maharic shielding comes in. That it's very ancient teachings in a sector, almost like Tibetan monk. It's hidden knowledge, and this knowledge in the MCEO Freedom Teachings this information came to share with the entire world free teachings at a specific time when Earth has a big awakening, because your consciousness can only handle so much information. This information is super high frequency. I couldn't even understand it when it was first introduced. I came back to it when I was ready. The teachings of the Mahabharata are also connected to the Melchizedek cloister emerald order. High levels of consciousness that are connected, and this is where it can get a little hard to comprehend in galactic sense. Okay.
And Christians keep an eye on the Melchizedek priesthood thread, or New Agers that are aware of that also. Like there is foundational, there's many angles to like access this wisdom. This is like a 5D view on some of these like very concentrated concepts, which were in other traditions. So yeah, please continue.
They're ancient texts that hold galactic knowledge, and this is where the 12 cloistered Kathara plates are stored within the ancient texts, which are connected with the Essene tribes that are connected to another level of the Melchizedek cloister, one of the lineage of the tribes, and then the Emerald Order, that are all connected to the councils and galactics, like the interdimensional free world council associations. There's a lot of different councils that are in lots of different universes. Lots of universes. A lot.
Which is fully validated by the most advanced physicists and mainstream, like hardcore reductionist, like the physicists are all saying, yeah, we live in a multiverse. So as wild and out there as that is, it's also being fully validated by the recent science. So here we are, y'all. We're in the weirdest, most epic existence ever in this fractal in the mind of God, and figuring out how we come back into our power and create beauty and joy and love in the world. That feels like the mission, and getting through all these Illuminati programs and horrific energy parasiting situations and all the human trafficking, all the horrible things, for us to rise back into this awareness and be the beacon that you are and that we're here to be. Sorry, that was kind of...
No, I love when you come in and you ask such amazing questions that bring this knowledge to humanity. And Ashiana Dane was the contactee as a child. I mean, this is her bringing all this information. We wouldn't have had it if she didn't do this. And they give these speaker contracts, and she is a speaker contract. She holds that. As a young child, she brought a lot of knowledge, books and books and books and books, and it's free. They're out there, PDFs. You can start learning about this. Anyways, the MCO Freedom Teachings is a biospiritual healing system. This is where it goes back to the New Age order. Where are their spiritual teachings to help people heal? Where there's bypassing going with that. We can't just do, hey, love and light. First of all, we contain our own light. Everybody is capable of creating their own light within their own energy field. You don't give your own away. It's if you don't have a strong foundation, you cannot support anyone else to guide. Go teach them to guide within. The teaching teach you how to do self-healing. And so it is for practitioners to up their game, to step in a role of leadership, to start teaching people how to heal their container, which teaches energy points in the Kathara system. This is our entire Kathara. It's a 12.
Just say one. Oh yeah, keep going. So give us a Kathara versus Kabbalah 10-12 riff here.
So the Kathara grid holds the 12 trees, standing scalar waves. It's 12 units of consciousness. And so that, compared to the Kabbalah, that is a 10 tree grid. If missing, I can't hold, I'm having a hard time holding which part of the Kabbalah it's missing, but there is, remember I had mentioned the DNA checkerboard?
Yeah.
And they took some out of that one.
Yeah, my limited understanding, it's like the 4th and 5th that were taken out, which is the Christ essence. And
10 and 12.
10 and 12. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay, because 4th is heart.
Okay, right. And so, there's a lot of wisdom in the Kabbalah, and lots of really extraordinary speakers that teach with that as their primary wisdom. And, like Sean Clayton, who's been in our events, tons of power and wisdom. And, also the deeper I go, the more I see that there's a big missing piece here. And when you look at, Judaism and Zionism and, the expressions that come from this Kabbalic, school of thought, we're looking at some really horrific, horrendous cultures and programs that are working the world right now. And lots of beautiful Jewish people. I've got dear Jewish friends. But as we can all see on display here with the Gaza genocide disaster, we're looking at this is the fruit of that distorted view of hierarchy, of arrogance, of the chosen people, and all of that insanity. And coming back to when we can access this Kathara system and this more authentic resonance of reality of these 12 dimensions of our 12-stranded DNA, from my very limited understanding of it, there's a huge upliftment and a huge shift that we're here to help catalyze, and just love and respect you for being, for doing what you're doing. So yeah, please continue again.
Yeah, and thank you. The Kathara grid is our energy DNA template, and it is the map of where energy goes, where it's connected. Also, it's the map of portals and stargates within our energetic body into our green line of consciousness field. And so through these teachings, it's how do we restore and get back online to our divine code of unlocking. It's an unlocking system. There's steps in the teachings, there's steps to get there. And the first one is the 12D Maharic Shielding. It's preparation.
And check the description for the Maharic Shielding process. It's beautiful and feels amazing and profoundly shifting.
Very much so. That's, I honed that still. It's a high frequency meditation. It takes time to develop the energy field, the frequency. And what happens is you tend to fall asleep during the meditation because it's such a powerful energy. But your subconscious is listening. And eventually, if you do it every day, a couple times a day, you'll start to be able to do this meditation. And then you can sit in your car, you can mow your lawn and just have this energy field around you. I started doing the shielding while it's on my energy mat, the pulse electromagnetic field mat. That mat alone is cellular DNA healing, so it's very spiritual as well. And so I became very activated by doing it together.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Same. It's great.
And the energy field on this mat, it's a triple sawtooth wave. So it's a pulsed electromagnetic field, but it's not scalar waves. Like scalar waves, here's the EE system, those big screens with the coding and stuff. That's scalar wave. I have been in scalar waves before. It's very bold, very strong. Anytime that container is in a room, you have to always clear the energy afterwards. It's like a dumping ground of stuff. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted, transduced, and alchemized. So knowing that in my home, I have 2 doors, energy can flow, fire, water, using elements to transduce, transmute, also thoughts, because thoughts are frequency too. So when working with energy, you use your thoughts to clear fields as well. And I also, while I became activated, I developed a hum.
Yeah. Which I've experienced. And sound medicine is super real. And as Dispenza speaks on, and lots of other wise teachers speak on, it's the identity we express is the result of the frequency that we're feeling. It's from the field, from the feeling first. So definitely validating the hum healing. And that leads my mind into the Bufo experience, where I got to experience the frequency toning shifts that occurred within me while you were healing in that way, working in that way. And curious around more of why you feel Bufo is so powerful, and maybe going into like some deeper, maybe stranger parts of how this medicine appeared in the toad and what the lineage is, and just kind of what your thoughts are on this magical, bizarre, magical creature that lives in our world and that produces this extraordinary compound in medicine and God molecule, basically.
I'm so in appreciation for this, to these toads, the Colorado River toads, the They live in the Sonoran Desert in Mexico and near Arizona border, I believe, and they stay underground for most of their life. They come out during the monsoon season, and that's where that they would extract the toads, and it's not painful. They have multiple glands on their where the ears would be and on their legs. And this medicine is extracted on a slide and then dried, and that is it. I work only with natural entheogens. I try to stay away from all chemicals as much as possible because we are that. We are not created in chemicals. We are natural beings and natural laws to connect. We have nicotine receptors. We have THC receptors. We have all these receptors in us. Why? We're supposed to be one with the earth.
Yeah.
This is why this medicine is so important, is because it helps break the ceiling of individualization, the ego. It breaks through this illusion that we're separate.
Yeah.
Because we are one. And many times people feel that we are one. We have looked in each other's eyes, and I see the embodiment of one another with many people. I can see timelines. I can see ancestral. I do a lot of ancestral clearing while I'm in Bufo. As you become one with this medicine, let's say if you were wanting to become a facilitator, it's important to know your medicine and its capability, and also its contraindications. That's where safety comes in. You need to know safety with medicines and also integration and how to integrate this, because this clears up belief systems. It changes belief systems. You cannot usually, if you've had a good breakthrough, the illusion that you've been carrying of yourself and your traumas starts to shift. It changes your life. You have to be ready for this experience.
Yes.
That's where preparation comes in. This medicine is also carried in Mexico by the Siri tribe. The Siri tribe has had, from my understanding, and I'm open to a conversation that could be off, about 20 years they've been carrying this medicine. But there are photos of a shaman on a boat with its mouth open and the toads there. And could be like hieroglyphics kind of a thing, or pyroglyphics, is it the petroglyphics? Thank you. And so I've also heard that it can go as far as the Asia.
Well, as far as Asia, what do you mean?
The medicine has reached Asia. So where
in the past, or like, what do you mean by the date?
I don't have a date. I just know that in Asia that they have had this medicine. So how old is this medicine?
Yeah.
When did they discover it?
Right.
We don't have I haven't seen any historical markers or anything.
Yeah, neither have I. It's a mystery, and the story of, allegedly there's, I barely understand, so I can't really even comment on it, but it is fascinating. The first person says, I'm going to smoke that and to see what happens on the back of a toad. And however that divine inspiration happened. Thank you to that brave soul. And thank you to the incredible toads. And, I know in the future, you have a vision for the Bufo Healing Sanctuary to evolve even further into an actual Bufo Healing Sanctuary for the toads themselves, to be raised, to be cultivated, to be honored, and to be, really profoundly ethically, raised and protected and served. And super excited and honored to see how our collaborations continue. We do have some really epic properties coming to life right now. Larry, shout out, brother, going to be with you here just after this meeting, so y'all stay tuned. Also, Zach here in Bastrop, Texas, just invested in an amazing plot of land, 22 acres of hilly, beautiful, tree, Post Oak, Texas Hill Country, where really amazing properties coming to life, where Mara was going to be serving medicine along with other amazing practitioners and bringing people into this new earth frequency, which is really the old earth frequency, where we're more remembering who we really are than creating something that's never been done before. There's nothing new under the sun, right? Mm-hmm. So, we could go on for days here and do a quick time check for things. So let's go a little bit longer. And And yeah, it's such a joy and such an honor. And it's also, inviting, those listening to this that are called to these medicines, they're called to these profound shifts, and to exit from these older programs and feeling the stagnant weight of like something's wrong, something's missing, like this isn't right. I'm not meant to be sacrificing my entire life for money and for this job and for this assumed prestige and power. And speaking from my own experience of spending a decade or so in the private equity and in the high tech enterprise software world, which was my origin story. And God, just thinking back on it is just so brutal. And, seeing the breakthrough experiences people have had to extreme growth, coming out of that matrix system. I'll tell one funny story here, is that in the last months of my last adventure in the corporate world, I was on a mushroom experience with another epic priestess friend and a facilitator. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and I see myself running through the hallways of the office, the headquarters out in Colorado, incidentally, and just going, "Run, get out! You gotta go! They're killing you!" And like, in my experience, I'm laughing at it, but like obviously, like my soul is showing me like what needs to happen. So if you know that change is needed in your life and on your emotional quality, in your relationships, buckle up, because these medicines can provide the courage and the nervous system healing, and the new community to make it feel safe to change. So, speaking of the safety of change and how people can really maintain these insights, what else? I know you speak to integrative coaching, which is totally crucial, but what else are the required components and like the prerequisites to sustained, lasting change for people? So it's not just a, wow, look at this beautiful moment, but it's like, no, I'm going to change everything.
Right. It's a great question, Jansen. It starts with how do you wake up? What are your first thoughts? What's your routine? What's the first thing you think of? What's the first thing you put into your mouth? How do you treat your body? Those are signs of self-love and how you care for yourself. If you're eating fast food, if you're drinking soda, those are things that aren't even food. You're not giving proper nourishment, your gut health. Gut health is extremely important because it's about 90% serotonin, and that goes to your brain. It's a neurotransmitter chemical. So,
Meaning 90% of your serotonin is created in the gut.
correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so brain health, stomach health, going into wellness and health, and who is in your field who you're with is a big deal. Are they empowering you or sucking your life force from you? And this is where you start making changes in your relationships. Who's sucking your life force? Like work. I felt like, okay, if I stay doing this, I'm not gonna go to where my soul mission is. And a lot of times sacred medicine pulls you to your soul mission in life. And so you make these changes, and they're hard, very hard, because it affects everyone. It's how do you go about making these changes as gracefully and filled with love as possible. For instance, a divorce. I ended up getting divorced. How do we go about doing this?
Me too.
Seamless, right? Breakup. Relationships change. Then once you can do pre-integration and get ready for your intentions. What are your intentions? What do you want to, how do you want to see yourself? Well, what are you holding? And that's starting to take away some identity and masks and belief systems that are not serving you a purpose. Then going into, sacred medicine and then the integration, but holding all of it is that I feel personally is community. When you have a community, that keeps the container full of, let's say, blood, a flow of life. It also creates the fire. Now we're working with divine feminine and divine masculine and full balance embodied with spirit. Going through either the 12 responsibilities of mastery. In my book, I call it 12 embodiments. I see them as embodiments because I walk through it. Removing programs that don't serve a purpose. Start holding yourself into full sovereignty. Self-accountability. Discipline. Discipline is very hard when we live in a society that they just want more, without having containment to go within and saying, why do I want this? And we have projection, but going inward and not always projecting outward onto people, you start to discover that self. And able to do that, we have to quiet the mind, stillness. If there's too much energetic confusion in your field, you cannot feel, you cannot be, you cannot get sucking the life force. So being still, going into the quiet mind, grounding. I live in a forest community, and you can, when you come here and you start to have stillness and quiet the mind, and you go back into the concrete jungle, you feel one frequency to the next. Going deep into your heart expansion through the brain and heart coherence and activating all these dormant DNA codes through cellular healing is a big field to go in, big container. And sacred medicine is a beautiful tool to get there. But community to me is number one for getting it together.
Totally. And when we ultimately we are tribal beings, and from my perspective and opinion, it's when we feel like we're outside of a tribe, we hide, because deep down we feel like the bears and the tigers are going to kill us, or the rival tribes are going to kill us, and we don't have the courage to go out there and fully express ourselves if we feel alone. So if you feel alone, please reach out. Please let us know that where you are and what you're doing, and we'll have a link down below to get in touch with us. And that's what AUREA is here for, is to create this community, to let you know that there are so many more of us than we oftentimes think. And we are the majority. We are the power. And the illusions really don't matter when we're in our truth and when we're connected to others that are in theirs. We really become invincible. And these prophetic days that we're in, of the Eagle Condor prophecy, of the age of Aquarius shifts from the dogma and from the rigidity of religion into divine relationship. And what I believe the second coming of Christ really is, and what these prophetic shifts that Yeshua spoke about, of all these things I have done, you shall do and more. Don't you know that ye are gods? The kingdom of heaven is within you. These weren't idle words. These were seeds planted in consciousness till the time in which we're ready to receive them. And here we are, here you are, and it's time to rise. And it's time to remember and take boldly courageous action and step up for the people that we care about. And just really admire, respect, and appreciate you incredibly. You've shown up as a master force of change in my life, and so incredibly grateful for helping work through some, deep distortions and deep pains. And if you want to come here and you want to really get real, you're going to need a lot of courage, a lot of compassion, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of faith. And that's in my experience of activating more of all of those really the great characteristics that are inside me, and having grace for the shadow parts. And we're all on that journey. We've all screwed up. We're all going to screw up more in the future. And we all have incredible power for good. So as we bring this to a close for this session, I'm very excited for more, because there's so much in your heart and mind. There's just binders and binders in your office of just magical information. And you really have put in the time to have a really incredible understanding of really deep science and spiritual wisdom. So if you were to give someone a few minutes or a minute on your invitations, like your truth, like your essence, like what do you want someone to really walk away with, knowing, feeling, believing about you and about themselves?
Well, that all parts of you are welcome here, all the messiness. This is no, we accept all. Everybody gets a chance to heal in this ascension cycle. That is my goal. That is my mission in love in this life, is to help guide people inward. And this is releasing the meth that you wear. You don't have to hold on to those anymore. Those are false meth to keep you contained. And we want you to expand your heart so you can love yourself again, to release programs so you can ascend in this cycle and do your soul mission's work, so you're not stuck in an emptiness. You're filled with love, a container of empowerment. We have to empower our people to keep going on, to heal, because once they walk through these steps and start to embody, I call it levels of Schwayne body, it reverberates into the entire existence in this universe, all the universes. Each soul that heals, it opens a field of light, and it affects all of us.
Passionately agree, and supporting that with the 100 monkey effect and other research showing that we just need a small number of people to have an incredible effect in the world, because we all are connected. We all come from this singularity. So just supporting and amplifying the wisdom that you shared, and inviting all of you listening to this to be in your power, be in your peace, be in your passion for what you're here to do, because you have a mission that will be wildly inspiring. And when you're committed to that, when you're aware of that, when you've created a plan to really create it, and you're amongst others that are on that same frequency, the malaise and the depression and the anxiety, it can be burned away into purpose, into enthusiasm, into this beautiful drive and motivation to be in a beautiful adventure and a hero's journey, rather than the feeling of being in some lost, horrible world where we see these tragedies as evidence of being in just chaos and nihilism. Rather, we're in purpose, and we're in passion and beauty, in a beautiful adventure. So thank you all for watching and being here. Marla, thank you so much for everything that you shared with me. My life is profoundly better because of your role in it. And it's been a blessing to get to serve here in ceremonies with you, and also receive massively from them. So the links are below to contact Marla. Highly recommend her Bufo journeys, also a facilitator with Wachuma and also Iboga, here with the Bufo Healing Sanctuary and Entheogenic Church, where you can be safe and you can be guided back to yourself. You can witness yourself as the conduit to the Creator. And you have such a graceful way. And something I just want to recognize here at the end is as you expressed, you're here to activate others' healing potential within themselves. And you're so vigilant and delicate around not inserting yourself into experiences, and how to really give someone the space to figure it out on their own, in divine relationship. And it's a beautiful, beautiful gift that you've received, and you share it with such grace and joy and epic food, and just an amazing, amazing space here in this incredible Sam Houston forest. So thank you for everything. I love and appreciate you. And anything else you want to say before we part for today?
Thank you, Jackson, so much for this time. I've learned so much about my soul's journey with you being here. It's been a complete honor. You've honored your word with me. You are my leadership coach. And you said, I will walk beside you. And you literally have walked beside me. And I wanted to say thank you. You have also given me signs that I need to fix on myself. Not fix, but to go deeper into, so the outcome can benefit others. And through the hard moments, I thank you for the love that you continue to give me during those hard times, to treat yourself kindly in those hard moments, that we don't create more shame.
It's everything.
Yeah. So thank you, brother, for being here. Also, this future that you're creating with and continuing to create with AUREA and the land build outs through retreats and working with everybody in unison. It's such a big container. It is happening. You're manifesting, you're creating, co-creating, and you're doing in alignment with the law of one. And so we want to say thank you. The higher galactic. It is a complete honor that here in this field of stream of consciousness that is expanding, and you are a massive part of this. Thank you.
Woo! Received with gusto, and yeah, I'm here to play my part with my magic, with my mess, and to be seen in all of me. And I'm not here to pretend to be perfect. I'm here working through my shadow aspects too, and holding myself with as much grace and as much vigilance and integrity as I can muster. So love and appreciate all that. And yeah, notes are in the description. Get in contact with us. Reach out to Marla if this frequency feels right to you. And love and gratitude, peace and power. See you more soon.